Yeah. So, speaking of our DC, we just kicked Houston's ass. We're
Yeah.
now second in the East. We'll take first in the East at the weekend in New England, right? That's a given. With
Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. New England is the most underrated, overrated team I think we've had this postseason or this season. No one's talking about them. They've got a fantastic offense. I'm a little worried because we play them if we beat Greek American Atlas in the Open Cup, and if they're scoring 5 goals a game, I'm a
Y'all
little
don't
worried.
play DC again? I thought y'all played DC again.
No, DC will travel to Rochester or play Reading United at home, depending on.
Oh, okay.
I, for some reason, I memorize way too much of the Open Cup fixtures.
All I know is that Carolina's playing Carolina, and then the winner's gonna play Carolina, and then yeah.
The
Um,
Carolina Cup.
but yeah, no, New England is fantastic. If I didn't,
I think New England got a lot of buzz at the beginning of the year too, and then they didn't do so hot right out the gate. I think that's where they kind of
well, because
why we're not talking
they
about them
didn't
as much yet.
they didn't know how to replace Juan Agudelo, and now they found Patty Mullins, who I'm still upset that we didn't draft Patty Mullins. I don't understand why he dropped to 11th in the draft. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I
Um,
can kind of see that because a lot of teams like DC United didn't need a poacher. They needed a guy who could be more of a complete forward. And I think we got that with Rolf and Espindola. But I think Birnbaum, in the long term, I'll go out on a limb. I think Birnbaum's going to be a better draft choice when we look back in 10 years than Mullins
well,
is.
but he hasn't been getting much play at Richmond, though, right?
Not really, not yet. Um, I don't know. It's like defenders and goalkeepers. They get better with age.
Yeah,
So I
that's
think
fair.
Birnbaum's going to be one of those guys.
So, at what point are we gonna? At what point is Ben Olsen finally gonna realize that Christian is awful at left back?
Okay, I was actually having this discussion because we watch all our games at Gus's Bar and Grill, and we had a group of RVA DCU guys tonight,
Hmm.
and I was talking. I'm like, man, Christian is the worst defensive left back I think I've ever seen, but the best offensive left back
He's
I
like a
think
poor
I've ever
man's
seen.
DeAndre Yedlin, to a certain
Yeah,
extent.
it's so frustrating because you're like, oh my god, how could you miss that tackle? That guy just skinned you, and then
Yeah.
runs down the field and puts a picture perfect cross in right on somebody's head.
I think he should be tried at left wing. I mean, I know Chris Rolfe plays there when Eddie Johnson is in, but maybe as a substitute or maybe it'd be something to try. I feel like
Yeah,
because
but then who do you put at left back?
I don't know anyone else, literally anyone else. I don't care. Put Corp there when Sean Franklin comes back, or bring up Taylor Kemp. I don't know how he's doing, but we've got people. We
He's
can
been
do
getting
this.
a few minutes.
He's what?
He's been getting a few minutes.
I like Coach Ian's philosophy of I don't care, just fix it.
Yeah, put whoever you want back there, and they're going to be better than this guy who used to play in La Liga.
Yeah,
I
what
don't
is?
understand that. How did this guy play in La Liga? Like, I guess
Well,
it's because it's such an offensive focused league.
I guess so. I mean, and if you think about La Liga, before this year, it was basically Real Madrid and Barcelona and everybody else, with a couple of people doing okay in Champions League, like Malaga or whatever. Um, and he played on one of those teams that was in La Liga because he helped them get promoted from La Second Liga. I don't know what they call it in Spain.
I think that's it. I think you got it.
It's
And
like the Galaxy too. It's Los Dos. We'll just
yeah,
go with that.
that is pretty great. Um, so yeah, he was on one of those bottom teams that, if they came and played an MLS team, they might not win, like Getafe and well, he came from Almeria, so I think they're getting relegated. I don't know. I don't care.
I definitely see his promise, and I don't know. I'm not worried about it. It is frustrating to see him get skinned, but I'm not to the point where I'm like, oh, we gotta yank him. I'm just, yeah, I'm not that worried about it yet.
You know what's interesting is I think there was a lot of concern because we're starting Boswell and Park as our center backs. I remember there being a lot of preseason concern, like, yeah, they're solid MLS center backs, but they're also really slow, and that
Yeah.
hasn't been a problem at all.
No, I mean, you can watch the Philly game. That's where it pays off. I mean, they were quick to the ball. They used veteran defense and commandeered the defense. And I mean, that, while terrifying as a DC fan to watch that game, it was a pretty good defensive performance.
Right. Yeah, and every game's been pretty much a pretty good defensive performance, and that's what we had. That's what we had in 2012 when we had McDonald and Jakovic next to each other, and then both those guys came falling back to earth and regressed to the mean after a great 2012, and then we sucked.
Yeah, I'm a little sad that we let Ethan White go.
Me too. I thought he did great. Well,
But
not great, but I thought he had promise anyway.
yeah, I'm sad we let Ethan White go, but I'm not sad that we got Park out of it.
I am sad that we. So Philly made that trade so they could get Maurice Edu.
Yeah.
So they got Ethan White and Maurice Edu for Jeff Park,
Yeah, we
which
shouldn't have given up anybody.
yeah, no, we shouldn't have. And Jeff Park for Mo Edu straight up, I guess that's fine. But Chicago, or no, not Chicago, LA wants the number one allocation spot last year to get Robbie Rogers, and Chicago gets Mike McGee out of it. So,
Yeah, it's just trading a known quantity for an unknown quantity.
yeah.
I'm not entirely sure that Phillies made back their return on getting Maurice Edu.
I mean, he's one of those guys who's going to take a while, maybe. If they don't have any strikers, they don't really have any defense, apparently, even though they have Austin Berry and Ethan White and other guys who play instead of those guys. So,
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell's going on in Philly. They should be better. They're not.
Try and figure that one out. Well, I'll pose the question. Do you think Hackworth should be fired?
Yeah, totally. They have one win in 10 games. And after the Berry trade and after trading for the number one pick overall and after getting Edu, they should have more than one win in 10 games.
Do you give him till the end of the season, or do you think it's worth firing mid-season?
I think it's worth firing mid-season because Philly needs to go to the playoffs because that fan base is not happy.
I say you give him until he doesn't until it's statistically impossible for them to make the playoffs, and then you always hold out hope that there can be a late run or they start finding their mojo, but you don't want to fire him too early.
I think as a rule, since it's a Philly fan base, they should wait till the third incident of physical violence that this has caused, and like a 3 strikes rule.
But here's the thing, though, is that a lot of times a coach firing mid-season can be kind of a kick in the pants, right?
But sometimes in the pants hurt a lot, and they don't help you.
I mean,
Depends on what part of the pants you're kicking.
I mean, this is terribly anecdotal, but my UNCG basketball a couple years ago benefited a lot from a mid-season firing, and it ended up going all the way to the SoCon semis, where they had never been for like 10 years. And then they reverted back to sucking. But, if Philly wants like a cheap shot at the playoffs, that's the way to do it, is you fire Hackworth, get someone, I don't care who, get...
Kurt Anolfo.
Don't get him. Don't do that.
Isn't he assistant coaching at LA?
He is.
Yeah.
He is. He might actually be the coach of Los Dos, but I don't think so.
God.
But your argument is that they should get. I don't know. I don't buy the argument that what they should be shooting for is a cheap shot at the playoffs. When you get a new coach, you'll oftentimes get that new coach bump. The players will be excited for a match or two. But I don't think it's something that's going to sustain you through the season, especially if you're trying to switch systems mid-season.
Well, just don't switch systems. Let the players figure it out. Do what RSL's doing this year, and just Jeff Cassar stepping back and letting RSL do their thing, and then the ramifications can come later when RSL sucks next year.
So why fire the coach then? Why not just let him keep coaching if they're not going to listen? Just tell them not to listen, and then we won't have to hire somebody new.
Because then they won't have somebody that they have to actively not listen to. They can just passively not listen to a new guy. I don't know.
My thought on the whole situation is you have to honor Hackworth's contract anyway. So what's the harm in giving him that extra couple of games here and there? I don't think Philly's at a point where even if you had a new coach, you have all the pieces you need to make the playoffs.
I think they do. They've got Noguera and Edu in midfield, who are pretty great. They've got a hypothetically solid back line. They've got
McInerney up front. Oh, wait. I'm so sorry.
Okay, let's... have you guys covered the McInerney-Wanger...
We've
trade? Not as much as we should have.
talked a little bit about it. Not a lot.
That absolutely puzzles me. I don't understand why you make that trade. I don't understand what it accomplishes to get Wanger. I haven't seen anything out of Wanger that I've been terribly impressed with. He seems like a guy who needs to spend a couple years in USL Pro.
I don't know if I would go that far. I think he does bring something to the table. I'm not sure that he's, I don't think he brings as much as McInerney did, but I think he's ready to be on the bench and even a starter if that's what the situation calls for at the MLS level. That having been said, he doesn't have what McInerney has.
No, Montreal definitely won that trade.
Agreed. I think we're all in agreement there. Unless Ian, are you ready to fight us on this one?
He's got his mic on.
He's muted.
Sorry, folks at home.
Oh crap. Okay. I actually missed that entire thing.
Okay.
What did you guys agree to?
We agreed that Montreal clearly got the better end of that deal. And
Yeah, I mean, obviously. So here's the thing.
If anybody would argue, it might be Ian.
No, I'm not gonna argue that. But what I am gonna say is that it's funny that Philly can fleece DC in trade after trade, and then they fleeced Chivas to get that number 2 pick overall in the first place last year, and then they fleeced Chicago in the Austin Berry trade, and I mean those
fleeced around a lot here.
Yeah, well, there's a point here in that they can take advantage of the shittiest organizations in MLS. But then, like, the next tier of shitty, which is Montreal, they get fucked by them. So, whatever. Philadelphia.
Yeah, again, that move absolutely puzzles me. Especially when Joey Saputo says things like, this team, you're going to see better on the field next year. It's like, well, then, why are you trying to do what you're trying to do? Like, I don't know. That trade mystifies me on both ends, I guess. But
we're all in the same puzzle.
Yeah. Stupid.
Just muttering to myself over here. Let's go ahead and start to wrap it up. We usually wrap up the end of the show with some bold predictions, but since you won't be with us at the end of the show, do you have any bold predictions for the season? And they've got to be bold, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. For example, DC's going to win MLS Cup.
That's bold.
It's not my bold prediction, but it's
a bold prediction.
All right. Well, I'm going to go some lower league bold predictions.
That's what we're looking for.
Since, that's what I'm currently wrapped up in right now. So, July 28th, I'm saying the Kickers come out and beat Crystal Palace 2-1.
That is a very bold prediction.
Yep, I'm gonna immediately regret it. I'm sure someone in the office is gonna challenge me to a bet tomorrow about that, but I'm gonna stick by it.
Well, don't tell them you're going to stick by it, or else they'll increase the odds of that bet exponentially.
I I
You have
know
to play hard to
exactly
get
who will
here.
do it. I know exactly the guy who sits next to me. He's gonna call me on it tomorrow, and then I'm probably gonna have to buy him a beer.
It is all over with.
Yep.
All right. So your things to plug. You've got your writing on the cup.us for the Open Cup, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, people go to the cup.us. If you're a regular to the Reddit MLS page, you know the cup. Josh does great work. He works his
Yes.
ass off. Dude sends me emails at like 3:30 in the morning trying to get me to write something. He's some guy who's really dedicated to this tournament, and I'm glad to finally see the site taking off the way he wants it to. And of course, got to plug the Richmond Kickers. We're playing Saturday against Charlotte at home. Watch us on YouTube. And July 28th, we're playing Crystal Palace. And we're
Will
going
that
to
one
be.
be up on YouTube also?
Sorry?
Will that one be up on YouTube also?
That is going to be determined by people that are not me.
All right.
I
Why
have
not?
I
Why
have
don't
an
you
inkling
determine that?
about it, but I'm not going to disclose that inkling. Just keep your eyes and ears open. It gives you an excuse to go to our webpage, bump our traffic. So,
Get
Do you
to
got
that
a
webpage.
Do you got a Twitter we can throw
oh
out there?
yeah, at rpk2 at ou, and the second at is spelled phonetically
Right.
because I like having the most confusing Twitter handle I can imagine.
Gotcha.
Side note to everyone out there, a very important side note: go Bobcats!
Yes, Ohio Bobcats. Oh, let
Bobcats!
me add one bold prediction.
All right, let's hear it. I'm ready.
Time. Saul Phillips, the new Ohio University men's basketball coach. We're gonna win the MAC this year. Akron, suck it. Thank you.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh wait, does this mean I get to rub in that Sweet 16 game from a couple years ago at you?
You mean the one where the school you didn't go to beat my school in overtime?
Yeah, the one where we took you deep into overtime.
Hey,
That one? That's the one you're excited about?
we didn't have
It's not
Kendall
like
Marshall.
it's not like we beat Michigan and USF on our way there or anything.
Yeah. Well, whatever. Just as
Go
long
ahead.
as the
Keep
target is
rubbing
one.
it in.
When's
Keep rubbing it in, and we're loving it over here.
UNC Greensboro? Is that a bold prediction if I predict them to not suck next year?
Yes.
Yeah,
We're gonna be so awful.
You heard
lost-
it here first. UNC
lost-
Greensboro
We
is
lost all of our. We weren't very good in the first place, and we lost all of our good players because they don't want to play at UNCG anymore.
Oh, see what you're supposed to do, and I don't know if you guys have gotten the memo yet. You're supposed to pick up new players when the other ones graduate.
Yeah, it's kind of called recruiting. It's like a yearly process where you're like, hey, we'll give you a Bugatti if you come to our college.
It's that easy.
Cars.
You wouldn't know how many Bugattis are driving around Athens, Ohio.
You'd think Wes Miller, who graduated under the tutelage of Mr. Roy Williams, would understand how this works, but
Under the tutelage. Yeah.
Ooh,
I see
getting
you trying to
fancy
make
over
the
there.
school sound fancy.
Even me. You must have went to college or something. College boy. All right. Let's just, we'll stop making fun of you in there.
No.
Thank you very much for joining us.
All right, I had a great time.
Are we looking forward to some more transfer thread in the summer, too?
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. Ladies and
All right.
gentlemen.
I kind of have work to do for the Kickers, but
I'm not buying it.
yeah, well, you're right.
There. All right. Thank you very much. Hopefully we can have you back.
All right.
Cool. And then we'll end the thing there.